There comes a moment in every trader's journey when you make a quiet promise to yourself. Not spoken out loud, not written down, but felt deeply. It's the moment you decide you're done drifting. The moment you say, I'm going to take this seriously. I'm going to be better than I've been. Maybe it happens after a reckless day that leaves you embarrassed. Maybe after a good trade that reminds you of your potential. Or maybe it happens late at night, when you're looking at your own patterns and admitting they can't continue. Whatever sparked it, that promise wasn't about money. It wasn't about getting rich. It wasn't even about trading, really. It was about becoming someone you could rely on. Someone steadier, clearer, more in control of their direction. Someone who lives with intention, not reaction. And even if you've broken that promise once or twice, or 100 times, the fact that you're listening to this right now means the promise never disappeared. It's still there, waiting for you to come back to it. The question is not whether you meant it. You did. The real question is whether you're ready to become the person who can follow through. When you picture becoming a skilled trader, you probably imagine competence, understanding the market, reading structure, identifying opportunity. And yes, those things matter. But the real battle isn't on the chart. It's inside you. It's the restless pull to take a trade before your setup is ready. It's the discomfort you feel while waiting, as if stillness means falling behind. It's the moment your heart beats faster and your mind tells you, just take it. You'll fix it later. You know that feeling. Every trader does. There's the tension that builds when price moves without you, the regret of watching a clean setup you ignored, the frustration of breaking a rule you promised you'd keep, the fear that maybe you're not cut out for this after all. These aren't market problems. They're human problems. And here's the part that most traders never fully understand. You cannot outtrade the emotional patterns you refuse to acknowledge. You cannot build consistency on top of internal conflict. You cannot create discipline while living in a state of psychological noise. This isn't a flaw unique to you. This is the starting point for anyone who tries to master a skill that exposes every part of their psychology. The good news is this. Your struggles are not evidence that you can't become the trader you want to be. They're evidence that you're standing in the exact place where transformation begins. Let's talk honestly about something traders rarely admit. You have broken your own rules, not because you're weak, but because your mind is still wired for short-term relief instead of long-term growth. When uncertainty rises, your brain searches for comfort. When tension builds, it searches for escape. And in trading, escape often disguises itself as action. Sometimes that means taking a trade early. Sometimes it means closing one too soon. Sometimes it means chasing a candle because sitting still feels unbearable. You might pretend it was logic, or intuition, or some signal you suddenly noticed. But somewhere deep down, you know the truth. You acted because acting was easier than waiting. Here's the gentle call-out, one many traders need to hear. You tell yourself you'll stop overtrading, but you haven't built a single boundary that would actually prevent it. And that isn't judgment, it's clarity. Most traders rely on good intentions to carry them through difficult moments. But intentions melt the second emotion rises. That's why you keep repeating behaviors you swore you were done with. You didn't fail because you lacked discipline. You failed because you lacked a structure that could support you when discipline wavered. This is where the real shift begins, not with more motivation, but with honesty. There's a turning point in your development where wanting to be consistent stops being enough. You have to start building the conditions that make consistency possible. This means simplifying instead of adding, committing instead of wandering, creating a clearer environment instead of chasing a better feeling. When you approach the charts each day, you shouldn't be guessing who you're going to be. You shouldn't be waiting to see what version of yourself shows up: the patient one, the anxious one, the hopeful one. You need a foundation that steadies you before you even sit down. Because here's something few traders truly understand. Discipline is not something you turn on when it's convenient. It's something you design your behavior around. When your actions become predictable to yourself, when your system removes the need to constantly negotiate with your emotions, you stop drifting into the patterns that used to control you. This is the moment you shift from being someone who tries to be disciplined into someone who is grounded enough to act with intention. And you know you're entering that stage when your trading day begins to feel less like an emotional adventure and more like a consistent practice. Think for a moment about the trader you imagine becoming. Not the one with big profits. Not the one with perfect entries. The one who carries themselves with quiet confidence. The one who moves deliberately. The one who doesn't rush, doesn't panic, doesn't break easily. You've pictured that version of yourself more than once. You've felt glimpses of it, on the days when everything slows down and the market feels clearer. But here's the truth most traders avoid. You won't wake up one day and suddenly become that person. You become them by behaving like them long before it feels natural. Identity grows out of repetition. Every time you choose patience over impulse, you strengthen it. Every time you wait for your setup instead of chasing a candle, you strengthen it. Every time you accept a controlled loss without spiraling, you strengthen it. And here is one of the few surgical truths you need to hear clearly. You cannot become the trader you envision while still acting like the trader you're trying to leave behind. Those two identities cannot coexist. One will eventually replace the other, but you decide which one survives. Let's bring this into practical reality. You don't build discipline by hoping you'll behave differently tomorrow. You build it by creating systems that guide your behavior when emotions rise. A pre-trade routine that steadies your mindset. A simple checklist that filters out half-formed ideas. A rule that keeps you from trading after emotional spikes. A review process that forces you to see what you'd rather ignore. A daily structure that keeps your actions consistent regardless of how you feel. When these systems are in place, something powerful happens. Your emotional world becomes less chaotic. Impulse loses its grip. You stop negotiating with yourself. You stop chasing the next candle. You stop searching for a feeling before taking action. You create space inside yourself. Space for better decisions. Space for patience. Space for clarity. And with that, the noise that once controlled you becomes manageable. This is the point where trading stops feeling like a storm and starts feeling like a craft. You have an idea of what becoming a consistent trader should feel like. Clear, focused, confident, smooth. You imagine yourself waking up, opening the charts, and settling instantly into discipline, as if it's second nature. But the reality is far more human and far more uncomfortable. Becoming isn't a straight upward progression. It isn't a series of perfect days stacked neatly on top of each other. It's messy. It's repetitive. It's full of quiet battles no one else will ever see. You will face mornings where discipline feels distant. You will face sessions where patience disappears. You will face moments where your old habits slip through the cracks almost without warning. You might even have days where the voice in your head whispers, "See? Nothing has really changed." But here's the part you need to understand. That voice is not the enemy. It's the echo of a past identity trying to survive. Becoming a better trader doesn't feel like arriving. It feels like choosing. Choosing again and again, even on the days when the choice feels inconvenient or unrewarding. It's the quiet decision to wait when every part of you wants to jump in. It's the steady breath you take before you act. It's the maturity of accepting a bad day without self-destruction. It's the willingness to see your own patterns and not flinch. And here's a truth you're ready to hear. You cannot grow without confronting the parts of yourself you've avoided. Not aggressively, not with shame, just with honesty. Because each time you see your old behaviors clearly, you create an opportunity to replace them. Not with perfection, but with something more aligned with the trader you're becoming. This is what growth actually feels like. Not comfortable, but meaningful. It's the kind of progress you only notice when you look back and realize how far you've come. There will be moments when you drift. Moments when the emotion of a single trade pulls you off course. Moments when you fall into habits you thought you'd outgrown. This does not mean you're failing. It means you're human. What separates traders who evolve from traders who repeat the same year of experience 10 times is not how perfectly they avoid mistakes, but how gracefully they return after making them. Most people treat a slip as a collapse. They think one broken rule means the entire structure is ruined. So they spiral, they chase, they abandon the process they spent weeks building. But consistency comes from the exact opposite mindset. You return, you breathe, you recenter, you recommit with calm clarity instead of frustration or self-judgment. Returning to yourself, to the stability you're cultivating, is the foundation of mastery. Because becoming a disciplined trader isn't about never drifting. It's about shortening the distance between drifting and returning. And here is the gentle truth you might have overlooked. Every moment you return to your structure, you strengthen the identity you're trying to build. You're proving to yourself that you can be trusted to realign. You're showing your mind that discipline isn't a fragile concept. It's a skill you can rebuild in seconds. You're choosing maturity over emotion. This ability, the art of returning, is the heartbeat of long-term consistency. And if you cultivate it, you will become someone your future self is grateful for. At some point in this journey, and it may be today, you realize that becoming the trader you've imagined isn't a matter of time. It's a matter of choice. Not a dramatic choice, not a single overwhelming moment. A quiet, deliberate, internal shift. A decision that sounds like, I'm done being at war with myself. I'm done reacting to every emotion that passes through me. I'm done living small inside a cycle I've outgrown. You choose to act in alignment with your higher standard, not your temporary feelings. You choose to stop chasing relief and start building resilience. You choose to stop postponing who you want to be, because deep down, you already know the truth. You are not failing because you lack potential. You are struggling because you've been living in the gap between who you are and who you told yourself you would become. That gap closes the moment you decide your actions will finally match your intentions. Not tomorrow, not after you feel ready. Now. Becoming the trader you promised isn't an achievement. It's a direction. A series of steady internal movements toward clarity, honesty, and discipline. And here is the final truth. You don't need a different market. You don't need a better strategy. You don't need a perfect version of yourself. You need alignment. You need intention. You need the courage to follow through on the promise you made to yourself, the one that never went away. Your future as a trader isn't determined by fortune or fate. It's determined by this quiet decision. Who are you choosing to be now? Because once that choice is made with clarity and conviction, the rest becomes a matter of consistency, one thoughtful decision at a time.